Thank you for joining the Sustainable Growing at Home series. This session's topic is called Use It or Lose It, Ways to Save Produce Before It Hits the Green Bin. My name is Nicole Pinn and I'm a registered dietitian with the University of Waterloo Food Services. So today we really want to talk about the end game of gardening. This series focuses a lot on things that you can grow in your homes or outside of your homes. And when we talk about gardening or even just stocking up on seasonal foods, it's also important to talk about what happens at the end of that process. So what do you do with all that wonderful produce that you've now grown or you've now gathered thanks to the seasonal weather? So the first thing I recommend to help minimize food waste is doing a weekly clean out. Once a week you can do a clean out the fridge meal. I really like to do this on Fridays, and it's a great opportunity to use up those scraps and leftovers that may be starting to look a little bit sad in your fridge. You could make something new with the week's leftovers. Bowl meals, stir fries, soups and casseroles lend themselves really well to day-old food. Or set up a buffet style mix and match. This is really popular for more family style dining. Number 2 is saving the scraps. So don't let all those good bits of celery ends and carrot tops and broccoli stems end up in the green bin. They actually hold a lot of flavor. You can use them now by sauteing them up to add flavor to your stir fries, soups, and casseroles, or save them to use later. So start a scrap bag in your freezer for all those delicious bits, and on a rainy day, boil them up to make a homemade vegetable broth or soup. Number 3 is making a dip, sauce, or pesto. So things like carrot tops or leftover herb stems, or even just too many ripe avocados or leftover canned beans, all make delicious spreads and dips. The great part about making a dip or a sauce is that you can freeze them too. If you live alone or your family is small, a great option is to freeze them in small containers so you have individual portions. Take them out, pop them in your lunch bag. You can use them as single servings, and that way you're not wasting anything. So we've talked a lot about vegetables. Let's give fruit a little bit of thought. Things like berries, apples, pears, and stone fruits are really easy to stew to use in oats, baking, or even on top of your ice cream or yogurt. So if you've got some fruit that's starting to look a little bit sad, maybe you don't want to necessarily eat it straight out of the fridge, this is a really neat option. The other thing you can do is make a jam or a fruit sauce like an applesauce. This is something that can be frozen, or you can can it or jar it to use it later. Bananas always seem to go brown before we have a chance to eat them. They are really easy to mash and add to baking or oats, or even make homemade popsicles. You can also freeze bananas whole and use them in your smoothies, or make something called banana nice cream. You may have heard this trend on the internet. It's really about pureeing the bananas into an ice cream type of flavor. I've seen some really interesting recipes with cocoa and peanut butter, and it tastes delicious. If you've got citrus left over, rinds of lemons or oranges or grapefruit, these are wonderful to use in dressings and marinades. You can also slice and freeze citrus fruits to use at a later date, which many people don't know. My last tip, but certainly not least, is preservation. So when you have no idea what to do or you don't have a lot of time on your hands, you can always preserve your produce to use at a later date. Freezing is by far the easiest, particularly for things like berries, kale, or spinach, which can just be frozen as they are. You can also grate things like zucchini, carrots, cauliflower, apples, and pears, slice and dice other vegetables, and get into blanching or making and freezing different dips and sauces if you're feeling ambitious. Another option is quick pickling. So this is the act of doing a 24 or 48-hour pickle for some of your vegetables like cucumbers, beets, cauliflower, peppers, beans, or onions. All it requires is vinegar, water, and salt, and there's lots of really easy recipes online. Lastly, and it's a little bit more work, but you can get into canning or jarring foods. I promise the results are worth the effort. Things like berries, peaches, or cherries make wonderful jams through the winter months. Make a fresh tomato or cucumber relish. Consider making your own homemade apple, peach, or pear sauce, or get into longer-term pickling. These are just some of the ways that you can make produce last longer or preserve it for a later date. If you need more ideas for using produce, have any questions or comments, or just want to chat about fun recipes, feel free to give me a shout. I'm always happy to talk about food. I've left my email and my Instagram account at the bottom. This has been the Use It or Lose It, Save Food from Ending Up in the Green Bin video for the Sustainable Growing at Home series. I hope that you check out the rest of our videos in the series. For more recipe ideas and food storage information, please look at the Nutrition and Food Resources section of the University of Waterloo Food Services website.